Yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about this golf course. I'm not Pat, so I'm not gonna. I don't want to try to be as spectacular as Pat in the course breakdown. I'm just gonna kind of give you. I'm just gonna kind of give you a need to know. All right, I'm gonna try to make this snappy so we can get into this. We're going to be playing the 3M Open at TPC Twin Cities in lovely Blaine, Minnesota, which is right outside of Minneapolis. It's a par 72, playing about 74 Hyundai. Arnold Palmer design. Tom Lehman had some input as well. He's a Minnesota guy. This is the second year the PGA Tour has seen TPC Twin Cities on the rotation, um, but it was a staple on the senior tour for many years prior to that. Now, last year Matthew Wolff made his breakout win as a rookie on tour, just coming out of college and winning here, beating Bryson DeChambeau, Colin Morikawa. But this tournament is not going to have. It's a pretty weak field. Okay, this makes if last week was Muirfield Village, like last week was like Kelly Kapowski, like peak Kelly Kapowski, Saved by the Bell, like maybe the summer between her senior year of high school and the first year of the college years, where she was working at the at that beach place. That was last week. This week, kind of looks like you ever see the first season of Stranger Things? I think it's the first season where that girl that's kind of thick and real pasty white, red hair, really short boy hair with big glasses, and she gets eaten up in the pool. I think she gets in the upside down world. That's kind of what this field looks like compared to last week. So, really crappy field, but hey, it's still just about the only sport in town for right now until NBA and Major League Baseball comes back, which is right around the corner. But it's still a field. We can bet on it. It's going to be fun. I'm going to talk through that strategy here in a second. You do have more golfers this week than we did last week. Last week was an invitational, 120 players. This week got about 150 players, 155. There's been a bunch of people withdraw, but it's all pretty much straightened out on DraftKings. If you see a big O next to somebody's name, that would be a good. That does not stand for for orgasm or anything like that. It just means those guys are out, so don't play them, is what that means. But last year we saw Matt Wolff win here at 21 under. Okay, the course was a little soft, so they were throwing darts last year. It'll be interesting to see what happens this year. I think there's supposed to be some rain coming. They haven't had a lot of rain lately, but I think there's supposed to be some rain tomorrow. So it could play soft again. Scoring is going to be through the roof. We're going to be right back to where we were pre-Memorial, where 19, 20, 21 under, 22 under is going to win. The PGA Tour professionals are going to look like professionals this week, not like last week. So it's going to be a different vibe. Now, what to know about TPC Twin Cities in terms of how to play it? The fairways here, pretty generous. Not super tight. The rough last year was not very penal either. It's bent grass throughout pretty much, which is very nice. It's a nice grass. I'm a fan of such grass. I just don't think it's that penal. I think also this place is played at very slight elevation. Ball goes a little bit further here. I don't really think 7,400 yards is super long, so I don't think you have to be a bomber to play well here, despite Matt Wolff winning here last year. I think, you had names pop up last year here, like Brian Harmon, obvious short knocker. I don't think you have to be a bomber to play well here. If you're bombing it and hitting it straight-ish, obviously that's always an advantage. But I did look at strokes gained off the tee. Just in general, strokes gained off the tee. If you gain that because you're a bomber, fantastic. If you gain it because you're deadly accurate and you always hit the proper side of the fairway, which gives you the proper angles into these greens, also fantastic. So that's something I looked at because the fairways are relatively generous. The greens are all bent grass and they're pure bent grass. Not as fast as what we saw last week with that Bermuda. Just very benign. The greens are a little bit larger than average on the PGA Tour, and there's not a ton of undulation. The greens are kind of basic. They're kind of like, to keep with the Saved by the Bell reference, like they're kind of like Jesse Spano, right? Like just kind of, yeah, I would, sure, but nothing amazing, right? Like nothing nothing crazy, just kind of like, yeah, I would, sure, I would do, yeah. But you're not gonna like go out of your way. They're just very basic. They're nothing super complicated. And last year we saw you didn't have to be phenomenal on the putting greens. You didn't have to be phenomenal on the putting greens at all last year. You could just tee to green the crap out of the place, make some birdies, and let's move on. So that's the greens. Well, let's see here. So what else? Some tough par threes, long par threes here, but you do have some par fives you got to take advantage of. Definitely going to have some eagles out here. So for me, I looked at greens in regulation, strokes gained off the tee, strokes gained approach. So greens in regulation, strokes gained approach. It's all about the tee to green game, iron play, getting on these greens, giving yourself birdie and eagle opportunities. Draftkings scoring is huge. Birdie or better percentage, however you want to measure it. You have to score. You have to keep up here. This is not going to be like last week where it's just like par is your friend. That is not happening. So I also looked at bogey avoidance only because like bogey avoidance is good all the time, but like there is a lot of water out here. What comes into play on like 14 or 15 holes. This is a very like resort feeling golf course. So a lot of bunkers, a lot of water. So I just took a little peek at bogey avoidance. I'm not super big on like weighing it, but I took a peek at it. So yeah, that's that. Man, this is weird. I don't have like any time like collect my thoughts. Hang on a second. That's a really good no carb, no sugar vodka. I'm a large fan of that vodka. Okay, let's talk about. Let me. God, this is Pat's a little. All right, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the approach to the week. Now, I think in an event like this, we talk about this every time you have a field that's pretty weak and it's a birdie fest. It means that almost anybody could win. Anybody in this field, the worst player in the field, the guy you've never heard of, if they're good enough to be playing here right now, they are likely, except for like Tom Lehman, they are likely good enough to win this golf tournament with one hot week. Okay. We see it all the time on tour. Last year it was Nate Lashley, Adam Long. You got guys that just can do it one week when it's a scoring fest. Last week, when you had difficult scoring, you had major championship conditions. That is typically when the best players in the world rise to the occasion, and you get guys like Jon Rahm winning. So you got the opposite this week.